Hi, my name is Parastoo Imami, and I'm the host of The Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. Before we start today's episode, I wanted to quickly share another podcast I think you might enjoy. It's called Talking to Teens, Expert Tips for Parenting Teenagers. If you enjoy our deep dives into emotional intelligence and communication strategies, you'll find tons of value here. Each episode features a different expert offering practical advice on teen behavior, self-esteem, and navigating those intense emotions, challenges that often parallel what we discuss on this show. It's hosted by Andy Earl, and you can find it at talkingteens.com. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com. In today's episode, I have the honor of having Mr. Patrick Snow joining. Patrick is an international best-selling author, professional keynote speaker, publishing, speaking, and book marketing coach. He first discovered his gift for speaking at the age of 17 while giving the pre-game speeches to his high school football team. Since then, Patrick has electrified more than 3,500 audiences on 4 continents to achieve their destinies. As a publishing coach, he has mentored more than 1,200 clients throughout the world to successfully publish their books. Patrick's destiny message has been widely recognized in the media, including the New York Times and Forbes magazine. His book, Story and Family Photo, was also featured as a cover story in 2002 issue of USA Today. Patrick is the international best-selling author of Creating Your Own Destiny, which has sold upwards of 1 million copies in 5 languages and 108 countries worldwide since 2001. This book and his second book, The Affluent Entrepreneur, have both been purchased by John Wiley & Sons. He's also contributing author to Chicken Soup for the Soul. Patrick's newest book, Boy Entrepreneur, was published in 2014, and his next book, Providing Massive Value, will be published soon. Please join me in welcoming the Dean of Destiny, Patrick Snow. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. I'm so honored to have you with us today.
Well, thank you for reading that speaker bio. That could very well be the absolute best speaker introduction that I've ever written. So thank you for so eloquently reading that.
I love it, Patrick. You're so funny. I love working with you. You're so amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, the topic of high sensitivity is very dear to my heart. And I'm so grateful to have someone as successful as you joining us today, because one of the messages that I've been advocating and have been talking about for a long time is how highly sensitive people can have an amazing life, and they can take their sensitivity, instead of thinking it as a weakness, they can take it and see the superpower that they have in their sensitivity, and be able to not just survive in life, but absolutely thrive in life. And you're the perfect example of that. So welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and look forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, Patrick. So let's get started. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to know that you're a highly sensitive person.
Well, I'm 56 years old. I'm a father of 2 children, adult children, and I've got 2 grandchildren and a 3rd grandchild on the way, which I feel I'm way, way too young to have that name grandfather next to my title.
I agree.
But yeah, in all seriousness, I've been an author, speaker, a coach my entire life. I've always been, I would consider to be an extrovert. And the high sensitivity, being an empath, struggling at times with toxic energy or heavy energy, it didn't actually show up in my life, for the first 47 years. Like if someone asked me if I was a highly sensitive person, I'd say that absolutely not. Are you an introvert? Absolutely not. Do you have any issues going to rock concerts or big football stadiums or being in front of large crowds of people? Not an issue whatsoever. And then, unfortunately, my father passed in 2015 when I was 47. And when that happened, energetically, everything changed. It was almost like my grief energy was so powerful and so strong that it eroded my, shields. And I certainly believe that, God loves all beings and we all have a, bubble of protection around us. But sometimes we can get cracks in that shield or cracks in that bubble of protection. And I think that when my father lost his life to cancer, it was so heart-wrenching on me, and I had so much grief that grief eroded my shields or my bubble of protection. And then all of a sudden, all this negative energy and grief energy and pain energy started coming in, and my empathic skills turned on, and I didn't even know how to spell the word empath.
Yeah.
Or being a highly sensitive person became a reality. And so I'm going to say the first 46 years of my life would never even consider that to be an issue or a challenge ever. And then all of a sudden at 47, after his passing, I was like paralyzed. I would drive down the street and literally I'd drive by a homeless person and their pain from whatever they're struggling with would jump off of them, cross the street, come through my windshield in my car, and then land on me. And I would feel their energy and feel their pain. And at first I didn't know anything what was going on.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I found a spiritual mentor, a spiritual healer, Dr. Michael Gross, which I think you know as well.
Yes.
And he taught me that this was normal, that this was natural, that we're all empaths, all highly sensitive people to some degree or another. And that's what energy work is all about. And this is why you need to protect yourself and move forward. And so that's what I did. And I was kind of stuck in a rut for several months. And maybe 3, 6, 9 months, I was finally able to get a hold of it. And then I've been able to turn that to highly sensitive person inside me or those empathic skills into my superpower, as you talk about in your book, embracing your sensitivity.
Yeah. Well, that's such a beautiful story. And it really, at least for me, it really resonates with me and it really touches my heart. And I'm so sorry for your loss. I know how challenging it is to lose a loved one, especially when maybe especially is not the right word, but when it's your parents, to me, it's extra hard. Or if it's even your child, just a, immediate family member, in my opinion, it just hits you differently, and, just so for the listeners, if you're hearing any background noise, the reason is that I'm at Stanford Hospital. My mom has been in the hospital for several days now. And, I had this scheduled with Patrick and I wasn't about to reschedule because Patrick and I really wanted to have this episode to share, Patrick's story with you, because I think you have it, you have so much wisdom in you, Patrick, that you can help the listeners who a lot of them are struggling being a highly sensitive person. And a lot of them are struggling with just making it through the day, because of the fact that they're deep feelers, they're empaths, they're deep thinkers. There's a lot, especially nowadays. I think this year especially has been hard for many, many people. And so I think helping our listeners understand, how do we move away from living, in the fight or flight state to living in our authenticity and in our wholeness so that we can thrive in life rather than just survive and barely be able to make it day by day.
Yeah. Well, I think that the answer to that question is, through my work with Dr. Michael Gross, I learned that all of us are like a sponge. And imagine buying a brand new sponge from a grocery store for your kitchen to wash dishes or whatever.
Yeah.
And that sponge represents us as babies coming in as infants into the world. We're dry. There's no heavy energy. There's no wetness to that sponge. And then unfortunately, put that sponge underneath a dripping faucet for a few moments. And that sponge gets soaked up with water. And the same is true to our body. Every argument that we have, every fight that we see, every horror movie that we witness, every car accident that we have, every, disappointment, marriage, divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, loss of a loved one, losing your cat, your dog, all of those things, there's energy attached to that energy. And that negative energy wears us down over time, just like having water in a sponge. And I think what I learned from that process is, up until my father's passing occurred, that caused all of this negative energy to come into my body, all of this wet water to be soaking up my sponge. And Dr. Michael Gross said that I needed to wring out the sponge and energetically get lighter. And he said, I can sense it. You got a lot of negative energy that you're carrying around. And I said, Michael Gross, I'm like the most positive person that there is. I'm a professional speaker. That's how I make a living. He said, I'm not talking about your attitude. I'm talking about your soul. Your soul is carrying all of this pain energy, suffering energy from, getting laid off earlier in your life, going through a divorce, having your kids go off to college, having your mother get, diagnosed with dementia, having your cat get eaten by your neighbor dog, now losing your father. You look at that's one after another, after another, after another. All that heavy energy is in your body. And so I'm like, okay, so what do we do about it? He says, you need to learn how to clear energy. And I didn't know what energy was. I thought energy was something that, came into your house on an underground power line or your cable box, your power box out of the street. I didn't know that there was energetic things that we could deal with. And he said, yes, we all have the ability to move energy, to protect energy, to send energy. And he gave me an example. Your kid could fall down, bump their knee, and their knee is bleeding. And then they come to you crying. And before that, you feel great. And then you hug your child. And all of that pain and tears from your child goes right into you. And then they all run off on the playground. They're feeling better. And now all of a sudden, you're feeling terrible.
Absolutely.
And it's because you've taken all that energy in.
Yeah.
So I'd known about meditation my whole life. And maybe I did a little bit of it. But he showed me how, through a very specific meditation, that you can harness in God's unconditional love energy, and you can burn away all of that negative energy that's just sitting in our body, in our bones, in our skin, in our muscle tissue. All of that negative energy resides within us, and it stays there until we energetically clear us.
Yeah.
And then he taught me something that completely changed my life. He said, nothing negative can reside in the frequency, energy, and vibration of God's pure unconditional love. And I'm going to repeat that. Nothing negative can reside in the frequency, energy, and vibration of God's pure unconditional love. So in working with Dr. Michael Gross, he taught me how to raise my vibrations, raise my frequency, welcome in and harness in even more of God's unconditional love energy. And the more that I did that, the more the negative energy wanted nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And it just left. So ultimately, we become what we think about. If we're worried about pain and shame and anxiety and grief and guilt and these other harsh energies of the world, we're going to attract that. But if we focus on love and joy and peace and harmony, then our love quotient will increase so much that none of that negative stuff can get on us.
Absolutely.
And so Mike changed my life. And so, yeah, I guess I'm a highly sensitive person. Yeah, I guess I'm an empath. But now when energy comes in, it's like, oh my goodness, I feel it. And then I repel it and clear it like immediately.
Yeah.
And I've been on airplanes before where a 300 or 400-pound person has walked by me. And literally as they walk by me, I can feel the pain of their heart. And that pain from their heart cavity jumps off of them into my heart. And then I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And as an empath, I'm giving them the gift of clearing that energy. Not that I want that, but then that pain energy from them jumps onto me. So thankfully, I go back to the lessons that I've learned from Michael, and I clear that energy immediately. And now within 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 seconds, it can be cleared and gone. And then they feel better, and they don't even know why. And then thankfully, I'm able to get the energy out of me.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That all resonates with me. As you know, I've written in my book about your energy vibration and the importance of it, and how, you need to keep your energy vibration at high, because our energy will attract like energy. So if our energy is at a high vibration, then we'll attract high vibrational energies, all the goodness in the world. But if we have a low energy vibration, that's exactly what we attract, because like attracts like, right? So, which is Dr. Michael Gross is saying it in a different way, but we're talking about the same exact thing. The same exact concept is what our energies attract like energy. So if we're at a high vibrational energy, we're going to attract high vibrational things or situations or people. If we have a low vibrational energy, that's again, we're going to attract that type of energy. And it's so important to know that, because then you empower yourself. You're not going to be a victim anymore. You're not going to think that, oh, other people, other situations, things in life have any control over your life. They don't. You're in control of your life 100%. Even if bad things happen, it's up to you how you want to deal with that bad thing. Like, do you take it on and then let that drain your energy? Or can you stay in the positive vibrational energy and say, okay, what lesson can I learn from this situation? What is it trying to teach me? And I don't like this energy. So what can I do to get rid of it and replace it with a positive energy so that I can stay in I call it the top 5 emotions on the emotional ladder, or the ladder of emotions, and so that your energy stays high, because otherwise you'll continue attracting these types of things, situations, people, whatever, that you don't want, that you don't like, but it's so powerful to know that we're in charge of that.
Yeah.
If bad things happen to us, we are in charge of how we deal with that bad situation, and how do we turn it around so that we can realize, okay, this is a low vibration energy. I don't want it. So how do I get back to being in that high vibration energy?
Yeah, yeah. And one of the mantras that he taught me is like, this is not mine. I command and demand it now be gone. All negative energies now all be cleared in dream heaven. And that's one of the things that I've learned from him, is so many different affirmations, so many different energetic clearings. Words have frequency, resonant, and vibration. And we pray to God, when we meditate out loud, when we say affirmations, the universe and God hears this.
Yes.
And as a result, what we wants us back. And so
Absolutely.
literally, God, source, universe, call it whatever you may, here's what you want and then sends you those frequencies to match that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have the perfect example that's so recent, with yesterday. My mom has been in the hospital since Wednesday, but yesterday she had to have a procedure on her heart, and she's never had this procedure before. And I didn't know anything about it. And when I was very positive throughout the whole thing, because I believe in God, and I knew God was going to protect my mom. And, I was praying for her and everything. And then they took her away, and I kissed her on the forehead before they took her away. And they took her. I watched them taking her away, and I started bawling, like as if I just lost it, just my face was like, I swear to God, it was like a faucet. It wasn't regular tears. It was just like, I don't know where this amount of water was coming from. I was bawling. And in that moment, I stopped myself. I let myself cry, because as you know, I talk about emotions and how it's important to process them. So I did allow myself cry and process my emotion, but I immediately turned to God. Even as I was crying, I was just immediately turned to God, and I said, I need you to protect my mom again. Because
Yeah.
15 years ago, my mom was almost died because she had a stroke from a procedure that the doctor was doing on her for her heart. She had a stroke as a result of that procedure, and she almost died. And then, so now 15 years later, almost exactly 15 years later, she ends up in the hospital, is almost dying, right? And I go to God again and I say, I know you gave me this blessing once before. It's been 15 years and she's still alive, when the doctor said that there's no way she's going to make it last time. So I need that miracle again. And I need you to please keep my mom alive, keep her healthy, keep her at peace, keep her alive and healthy, not just alive, but healthy. And so she can have a peaceful life. And so she came, it was like 3 hours before we got to know that my mom is okay. But in those 3 hours, even though I was crying, but I was praying to God the whole time. And I could feel my energy shifting from being hopeless to completely at peace. And then at some point, I was even very, very hopeful. Still hadn't heard from my mom, but I was so hopeful that everything worked out, because if it was bad news, we would have known by now. And so I completely shifted my energy from that very low vibrational energy of being hopeless and being sad and just distraught by this whole situation to being hopeful and looking forward for my mom to come back. I had gone outside to cry, and I went back in her room and I waited for her. I tidied up her room, made sure it was clean and nice. So when she came back, she had a nice room to come back to. And my energy vibration was so high and so hopeful and so positive that I had no doubt in my mind that my mom was going to come through that door, with the nurses, and that she would be okay. And thank God she is okay. And it's, but it's so important to recognize that you have control over your thoughts. You have control over your energy. And yes, I could have gone down that path of being negative and keeping my energy super low vibration. But I was able to figure out, oh, I'm in the low vibration. I don't want to be here because I don't want to attract those bad things. So how do I get back up? And I was able to do that pretty quickly, but it is, like you said, it is the power of your energy, positive thinking, affirmations, speaking to God, praying to God if you believe in God, or whatever power that you believe in. I believe in God. I don't judge anyone that has a different belief system than me. I respect everyone and everyone's ways of thinking and living. But I'm just saying, whatever it is that you believe in, if you reach out to that higher power and ask for help, you will get it, and that's one way of keeping your energy vibration at a higher level as well. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential, because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. If you enjoyed the episode and found it helpful, please leave a review, share with other parents, and reach out to us with any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com.